everyone, my name is Luna and I'm here to catch you up on everything that happened in episode 103 of Critical Role, Cages. Let's dive on in. We pick up with Essek and Belle's Hells preparing the ritual to place Delilah's spirit in the soul anchor that they retrieved from Aor. Essek explains that time is of the essence. They need to complete the ritual before Delilah grows in power again. This ritual will still keep the two spirits tethered, but Delilah will no longer be physically kind of inside Laudna's body and spirit, reducing or eliminating the risk of her taking control again. However, there is a risk that Delilah could break free during the ritual, and there's a risk that the two of them might die. Essek begins drawing a ritual circle in the laboratory while Imogen checks in with Laudna.
Are you nervous?
Oh, I'm terrified. I think the thing that I'm most concerned about is who I'll be without her. If anyone is... I mean, it's her magic that's keeping me alive.
Yeah.
If this goes poorly, it won't go poorly. I trust you all.
Essek asks for help with the arcane aspects of the ritual, and Chetney steps in, saying that he has a natural vibe for it, but Essek instead asks him to help with another step in the ritual, which will involve actually embedding the soul anchor into Laudna's physical body. Yes, she's going to be Iron Man. Instead, Breas and Dorian offer to assist Essek, inspiring each other along the way.
And I'm going to inspire you.
Oh, I feel so inspired.
All right.
I'm also going to inspire you.
Oh, wonderful. You picked up on that, didn't you?
That's what I think you promised. Sorry, mine's a little bigger. You can have it.
Dorian inscribes runes on the soul anchor for the ritual, assisted by Breas and with guidance from Fern, successfully passing a dexterity check of 25. After about half an hour of preparation, the ritual is ready to begin. Matt explains that each person can contribute to the ritual once, and it will take a number of successes to complete it. Chetney strips down to his undies to be more in his prime element and takes out his chisel, drawing it across his palm to activate his blood hunter abilities. Laudna lies down on a makeshift gurney and asks if it will be a painful process. Essek says it may be and offers a moss-like substance gifted by a friend with the name Renato, which Laudna can use to numb the area where Chetney will be working. Laudna, however, declines. Instead, she simply bites down on a wooden spoon and opens her chest up herself.
All right, I lay down and I just take my finger and I kind of give myself almost like an autopsy cut.
Oh, fuck!
Give him the Y.
Give it the Y, and then kind of peel
Like the
back a little bit.
Actually, I'll reach in, take out a split, shove it a little.
Do we want to have the...
Essek begins chanting and weaving arcane energy into and around the soul anchor, passing it to Chetney. Chetney then smears some of Laudna's blood onto the anchor, casting a blood melodic to activate her blood's power, and pushes the stone into her chest with a successful DC 20 medicine check guided by Fern. Laudna can feel Delilah's heartbeat and hears her whisper in the back of her mind.
What are you doing?
Just turning the tides a little bit.
You need me.
You're absolutely correct. And you need me.
Delilah's shadow begins to swirl around Laudna, attempting to climb out of her. Ashton goes into a rage, tapping into their dunamancy powers and using Mark of the Messy End on Delilah. It's an ability that improves critical hits, but Matt rules that this allows the next ability check to be successful on an 18, 19, or 20, regardless of the DC. Laudna reminds Orym of their earlier conversation.
If it goes wrong...
It's not gonna come to that. You are surrounded by people who care for you, and you have more love in your heart than Delilah has ever had in her long, cursed history. And flowers start to grow out of Orym's hand. Little red poppies again start to spread out on small tendrilled vines and wrap around Laudna's neck and spiral around her arm and down her body, beautifying the table that she lies on.
With these flowers, he hexes Delilah's wisdom, successfully passing his own wisdom check to do so and feeling the presence of the Wild Mother blessing his efforts. As the ritual continues, Delilah fights back even harder as Essek attempts to continue chanting and weaving magic around the soul anchor. And Laudna feels herself receding from the room into a dark and shadowy space.
You're no longer present in the room. You withdraw back into shadow, and in this darkened space, you can see just the faintest flicker of blue flame and darkness around you. And you just float there in this cold space. Then out of nowhere, she reaches for you, and you see Delilah, her hands around your throat, and she's just strangling you, pushing and holding towards you, her eyes locked on you.
Imogen uses her psychic powers to push into Laudner's mind as well, finding Delilah and Laudner return to the site of the dark, shadowy Whitestone where they fought her in episode 37. Imogen gives Laudner her strength, wrapping her arms around her, and attempts to convince Delilah to go into the Soul Anchor willingly, trying to convince her that this is the only way she will get to continue to live, because if she doesn't go into the Anchor, then Laudner will die, and so will she. Laudner contributes to this effort.
I'm going to look at Delilah. And as she's choking me, I'm just gonna give a little smile. These years of being your puppet, it ends today one way or another. I think it's your turn. And I'm going to cast Void Puppet.
Ooh, shit, this is the move. Oh, what a choice.
And so you see every person who was hanging on that tree with me that day, their spirits like erupt out from Laudner's back and loop around, and you see their spirits like stretch and almost begin like spaghettification and go and attach to Delilah's back as if they are puppet strings.
Aided by Laudner's void puppet, Laura makes a charisma roll with advantage, succeeding on a 21, and Delilah is pulled into the Soul Anchor.
And from the distant shadow of Whitestone Spectre, hundreds of other threads emerge until she has a network of every person that fell in that city, pulling her from behind.
Laudner's entire body glows in a bright purple light, and Delilah's darkness is banished into the anchor. As she opens her eyes, Laudner feels...
She's there.
Who's there?
Who?
Delilah. She's there, but she's yours.
Laudner begins to test her powers, summoning Pate, and feeling that rather than it being a power that is borrowed from somewhere, she instead feels the power siphoned directly from Delilah, with Laudner fully in control. Not only that, but with a natural 20 insight check, she can tell that Delilah will only see and hear what Laudner will allow her to. As Laudner thanks everyone for their efforts, Chetney carves C-pop into Laudner's ankle, saying that he does this for all of his best work. Oram suggests that they should celebrate, and Essek cracks open some bottles of Lionette wine while Ashton initiates a round of what the fuck is up with that, specifically directed at Breas so that they can learn more about him. Breas shares that his family are from the Kryn dynasty and that they've also lived in the Dwendalian Empire, but he now considers the Hells his true home. Oram asks about how he found his calling, and he shares that he did once follow a prime deity, the Platinum Dragon. He worked for a temple of the Platinum Dragon in Zadash and was in charge of security until one day...
The temple was attacked by two deceitful people.
You fucking dick.
Yes, a horrible goblin and a nightmarish tiefling. And I let them in. They deceived me to gain entry. It's not gone. I mean, they set fire to it. They desecrated it. They painted dicks on the wall, and I was blamed for the attack. Yeah, well, I failed to protect it. So.
That's terrible. Were they caught, apprehended?
I know they're at large, and I will find them.
I hope
And I
you
will
do.
destroy them.
If you're feeling a little lost by Laura's reaction here, I explained this moment and its connection to Campaign 2 in my last video. After this event, he was expelled from the church for his failure to protect it and was shunned by his family, which set him on a path to embracing the Lord of the Hells and being his herald, trying to convince others to join his cause. Breas talks about the difficulty of recruiting people to the worship of his god, since a lot of people don't really like him, but he stands firm that in the events that they saw take place during Downfall, Asmodeus was in the right.
They didn't respect their own family because they chose mortals over their family. But then they didn't respect the mortals either, so what do they care about? Themselves, and that's sort of it. But
My guy did not just care about himself. He wanted to be with his family, and that's all we ever want.
Totally lied to everyone.
So did they?
The group then begin to discuss their opinions about the gods now that they have this new information about what happened in Aor. Ashton in general still thinks that lewdness needs to be stopped, but agrees with the general premise of his plan and thinks that nobody should have the power that the gods have, and Dorian agrees with him.
But I do agree with Ashton. The last time I conferred with the god, they cared very little about the feelings of anyone around us.
Which god was this?
A goddess. Spider Queen.
Well, that kind of tracks.
Why?
It's another of the betrayers.
Aurum, however, gets frustrated by this debate about the gods, given that they need to be focusing on lewdness, because regardless of how they feel about the gods, lewdness is making a huge choice for all mortals and has killed many, many people along the way.
I'm telling you, if lewdness had sent people to your home and taken your brother and your father and countless others, how philosophical would you be about it, Dorian? And he's done that on a very large scale, far beyond me and my home. Think what you want about the gods. We have plenty of sins on our heads to deal with. Just like them.
Chetney also points out that even if Predathos does eat the gods and leave mortals alone, it will be absolute chaos that will likely lead to destruction as the power structures of Exandria are completely obliterated. Ashton moves the conversation on from talks of the gods by suggesting that one of them smoke the Pipe of Remembrance, which is that pipe that he has which shows an image of the person's most heroic moment. After unsuccessfully trying to convince Essek to smoke it, Taliesin rolls a d10 to determine who it's going to be, and it lands on Breas. Sam struggles to think of something at first.
My backstory is not that thought out, guys.
But eventually settles on the story of how his new cup came to be.
You see Breas and a very handsome human man. As the battle rages on, Stanley, or the man, the handsome young man, raises a dagger and stabs Breas in the back, and holds up a shining symbol of the Dawnfather. And Breas falls to his knees, but then climbs back up with pure willpower and is able to smite Stanley. And takes Stanley's blood and paints a large portrait of Asmodeus being stabbed in the back by the Dawnfather, and then painstakingly skins Stanley and takes his skin and flesh and bones and makes it into a cup.
Wow. Last name Krupp.
15 minutes into this vision, when you're partway into the early flaying, Essek kind of goes, I'm going to just get some more cookies.
This is the best part.
At the end of this vision, he prays to Asmodeus over the blood painting, but doesn't hear anything in return, confiding in the group that he's never actually spoken directly with Asmodeus, although he still maintains that he feels the god's presence. After a little more prodding from the group, Breas also admits that he's never been to the Hells. Not surprising that a paladin of the Lord of Lies appears to be lying a lot. Dorian jumps in, kind of saving Breas from further questioning, by suggesting that he paint a portrait of the group, which Breas does by splattering paint across a canvas. After this, the group finally takes a long rest, with Imogen and Laudna getting some alone time.
Good.
I'm gonna need a private room with Laudna for a little bit.
Oh, that's fair.
Fair.
I can stay in the stables.
Fair.
We're having makeup sex.
Yep.
I get it.
Make up sex.
Chetney attunes to the demon shell armor cloak that they found, which wraps around his body like a scaled bodysuit. After a large amount of time talking about how the suit works anatomically and how Chetney would use the bathroom, Laudna asks Essek to identify the amulet she took off her body in Aor a number of episodes ago, and he tells her that it is an amulet of cursed life, which has the ability to absorb the power of a 5th level spell slot, but it also animates all of the dead bodies around it, which then attack the wearer. So it could be useful for planting on an enemy spellcaster. Ashton asks Essek to take a look at his skull, since he is the first person they've met who seems to know a lot about Dunamancy.
Hands up, and his fingertips begin to glow, not unlike how he was kind of controlling the threads of the ritual, but this time that like silver gossamer thread is now almost like serpents of energy that begin to press into the glass side of your skull. As they do, they refract. Like they pierce the first layer and spread and refract, and then those pierce and refract again, and it's just this endless fractal space within your head. And you watch as he kind of peers in, and as he begins to pull one hand back to try and withdraw them, you see the reflections go kind of like doors closing behind. As they pull back to the final one, hits the side of your skull, it's almost like the glass side of your head as a window would shatter, but it stays solid, but colors shatter out like window pieces around him and kind of like and stop in middle air as he pulls back and stops in midair as well for a second.
Well, this is new.
Essek is very excited about what he sees with Ashton because it is the first time that he's seen anything like it. He explains to Ashton a little bit about Dunamantic magic, describing Ashton as having havoc with pattern. He asks to study Ashton later down the line when things aren't so chaotic and gives him a dark marble, saying that they can use it to focus their chaotic energies and get centered. In the morning, Essek disguises himself to look like Seth once again and teleports them to the encampment at the Hellcatch Valley to meet with Keyleth. However, when they arrive, they see the camp has been destroyed with fire and smoke, and there are Vanguard and Ryloran soldiers everywhere, as well as the Fey Dragon Gloamglut flying above. Imogen hurriedly messages Keyleth to find out where she is, and she says that she's safe and currently in Vasselheim. Essek then quickly teleports them out of the Hellcatch Valley and directly to Vasselheim, landing them just outside of the city walls. Breas covers his symbol of Asmodeus to look like the symbol of the Dawnfather instead, and Imogen messages Keyleth again, who says, she can't talk right now and she's currently in a council meeting, but that they should meet her at the Platinum Sanctuary. The group join the line to get into the city along with a lot of refugees, and they can smell an awful burning smell, which Lordan recognizes as the burning of undead flesh. They later learn that the city has undergone an event called the Dark Bloom, where numerous bodies buried in the crypts of the city were reanimated and began spilling into the streets. The crypts have been sealed off for now, but there's no telling how many undead walk beneath the city, given that Vasselheim predates the calamity and likely has many people buried in its tombs. Imogen tells the guards at the front of the line that they are on business with the Voice of the Tempest, and they are directed to the Platinum Sanctuary, and along the way they spot cages and gibbets hanging from poles over the roadways, which contain the dead bodies of the Ruby Vanguard. They also go by a huge inanimate Earth Titan, which the city has built under and into and around. That is a little nod here to the adventures of Vox Machina. As they arrive at the sanctuary, they see a large gathering of soldiers and attendants, with banners flying from almost every faction in Exandria, such as the Tal'Dorei Council, the Clovis Concord, Uncarel, and the Kryn Dynasty. At the sight of the Kryn Dynasty banner, Essek falls back, saying that he will leave the party here, but he's sure to meet them again. They enter the sanctuary, which is crowded with many people surrounding the assembled council. As they attempt to push their way through the crowd, they are stopped by an older half-giant called Grog.
Excuse me, just who do you think you are? And you kind of glance around and see this tall, like incredibly muscular, older-looking half-giant. Tattoos on his body, massive black, gray-streaked beard.
Oh my
God. Just holding you there and says, "Were you invited?"
We work directly for the Voice of the Tempest out of Zephyra.
Hold on. You say you know the Voice?
No.
Do we have a problem here, friend?
Do we?
I don't know. Do we?
I've been looking for a fight over.
Me
Wait.
too.
Hi. We're supposed to be here. How are you?
I'm okay.
Pike intervenes, letting Grog know that Bell's Hells can come through, and they approach the council, which is made up of figures and leaders from basically all over Exandria. It's like everybody is here.
This council. This is a gathering of Exandria.
Wow.
Present.
Everyone is here.
And as Grog has pushed past the crowd and kind of gave an opening in that one moment, all of Exandria looks to you. And that's where we're going to end.
This was such a fun episode and was absolutely chock full of references to Campaign 1 and Campaign 2. So if you want to learn more about those, you can check out my video about that right here. Plus, please let me know in the comments if you are finding these recaps useful, because I am really hoping I can continue them sort of for the foreseeable future. So yes, please let me know in the comments if you like them. All right, I'll see you all next time. Bye!